Centuries before the birth of Jesus, an ancient text already spoke of the Son of Man. It described a throne of glory, announced judgment upon the nations, and revealed aspects of the Messianic kingdom that not even the canonical prophets detailed. And yes, Jesus knew this text. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos of this series, it is worth going back and watching, because here we follow a progressive construction that is only complete when viewed together. In this episode, we will understand how these writings shaped the way Jesus identified himself, and why the Jews of the first century expected exactly the kind of Messiah they expected. Portals of the unknown, connecting ancient texts to eternal truths. In the first 2 videos, we explored the Watchers, Nephilim, and the celestial visions of Enoch. But there is a dimension of the Book of Enoch that most ignore. Its extraordinarily detailed Messianic prophecies. Prophecies that predict the Messiah with surprising precision, using titles and language that Jesus later applied to himself. And here is what makes this more fascinating. When you read the Gospels knowing the Book of Enoch, connections emerge that explain reactions of first century Jews, language choices of Jesus, and even controversies that led to his crucifixion. Let's explore the parables of Enoch, also called the similitudes of Enoch, chapters 37 to 71, which contain the most detailed messianic prophecies of the text. The Son of Man in Enoch. The most significant title used for the Messiah in Enoch is Son of Man. This title appears 15 times in the parables, always referring to a pre-existent messianic figure, celestial, who will judge the nations and establish an eternal kingdom. Enoch, chapter 46, verses 1 to 3. And there I saw one who had a head of days, and his head was white like wool, and with him was another whose countenance had the appearance of a man, and his face was full of grace, like one of the holy angels. And I asked the angel who went with me, and showed me all the hidden things concerning that Son of Man, who he was, and whence he was, and why he went with the head of days. And he answered and said unto me, This is the Son of Man who hath righteousness, with whom dwelleth righteousness, and who revealeth all the treasures of that which is hidden, because the Lord of spirits hath chosen him, and whose lot before the Lord of spirits hath surpassed everything in uprightness forever. Head of days is clearly God the Father, described in terms identical to Daniel, chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. And Son of Man is with him, but is distinct from him. Pre-existent, chosen, holder of perfect righteousness, and revealing all the treasures of the hidden, suggests omniscience. Compare with Daniel, chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion, and glory, and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Daniel sees one like the Son of Man coming in the clouds, approaching God, and receiving eternal dominion over all nations. Enoch expands this vision with extraordinary details. Now, here is where it gets fascinating. Jesus used Son of Man as his main title, 81 times in the Gospels, more than any other title. And he used it in ways that match perfectly with Enoch and Daniel. Mark chapter 14, verses 61 and 62. Jesus before the Sanhedrin, but he held his peace and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked him and said unto him, Art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am, and ye shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. Jesus cites Daniel 7:13, combining Son of Man with coming in the clouds. And the high priest immediately tears his clothes, accusing blasphemy. Why? Because all educated Jews knew Daniel, and many knew Enoch. Jesus was claiming to be the celestial, pre-existent, divine figure of the prophecies, the pre-existent Messiah. Enoch describes the Son of Man as existing before creation. Enoch chapter 48, verses 2-6, and at that hour that Son of Man was named in the presence of the Lord of spirits, and his name before the head of days. Yea, before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of the heaven were made, his name was named before the Lord of spirits. He shall be a staff to the righteous, whereon to stay themselves and not fall. And he shall be the light of the Gentiles, and the hope of those who are troubled of heart. All who dwell on earth shall fall down and worship before him, and will praise and bless and celebrate with song the Lord of spirits. And for this reason hath he been chosen and hidden before him, before the creation of the world, and forevermore. Before the sun and the signs were created. Pre-existence. The Messiah is not just a future human. He is an eternal celestial being, hidden in God since before creation and revealed at the proper time. John chapter 1, verses 1 and 14. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. John chapter 8, verse 58. Jesus says to the Jews, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Claim of pre-existence. And the Jews try to stone him for blasphemy. Colossians chapter 1, verses 15-17. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. The Christian theology of a pre-existent Christ is echoing language and concepts found in Enoch. The Messiah as judge. Enoch describes the Son of Man as universal judge. Enoch chapter 49, verses 2 and 4. And he is mighty in all the secrets of righteousness, and unrighteousness shall disappear as a shadow, and have no continuance. Because the elect one standeth before the Lord of spirits, and his glory is forever and ever, and his might unto all generations. And the Lord of spirits hath placed him over all the holy and righteous, and the wicked shall be driven from before his face. And he shall judge all the secrets according to the word of the name of the Lord of spirits. Enoch, chapter 62, verses 2 and 3. And the Lord of spirits seated the elect one on the throne of his glory. And he shall judge all the works of the holy above in the heavens, and in the balance shall their deeds be weighed. And when he shall lift up his countenance to judge their secret ways, according to the word of the name of the Lord of spirits, and their path according to the way of the righteous judgment of the Lord of spirits. Then shall they all speak with one voice, and bless and glorify and exalt and praise the name of the Lord of spirits. The Messiah seated on the throne of glory, judging all works, weighing deeds, and the wicked being driven from his face. Matthew chapter 25, verses 31-33. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Jesus using exactly the same language and imagery. Son of Man, throne of glory, judgment of the nations, separation of the righteous and wicked. John chapter 5, verses 22 and 27. For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son, and hath given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. Because he is the Son of Man. Not despite being human, but because he is the Son of Man of prophecy, the celestial figure destined to judge. Kings and mighty ones judged. Enoch dramatically emphasizes that kings, rulers and mighty ones, will be judged severely by the Messiah. Enoch, chapter 46, verses 4 to 6. And he shall loosen the reins of the strong, and break the teeth of the sinners, and he shall put down the kings from their thrones and kingdoms, because they do not extol and praise him, nor humbly acknowledge whence the kingdom was bestowed upon them. And he shall put down the countenance of the strong, and shall fill them with shame. Darkness shall be their dwelling, and worms shall be their bed, and they shall have no hope of rising from their beds, because they do not extol the name of the Lord of spirits. Kings plucked from thrones, mighty ones humbled, because they did not recognize that authority comes from God, and they rejected the Messiah. Enoch chapter 62, verses 9 to 11. And the kings and the mighty ones shall perish, and be given into the hands of the righteous and holy, and thenceforward none shall seek for them mercy from the Lord of spirits, for their life is at an end. And the kings and the mighty and all who possess the earth shall bless and glorify and extol him who rules over all, who was hidden. For from the beginning the Son of Man was hidden, and the Most High preserved him in the presence of his might, and revealed him to the elect. The mighty ones will finally recognize, but too late, and the Son of Man, hidden from the beginning, will be revealed in power. Luke chapter 1, verse 52 in Mary's Magnificat. He hath put down the mighty from their seats, and exalted them of low degree. Revelation chapter 6, verses 15 and 16. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. The same scene. Kings and mighty ones hiding, seeking to be covered by mountains to escape the judgment of the Messiah. The Messiah as the light of the nations. Enoch likewise presents a soteriological aspect, a redemptive dimension of the Messiah. Enoch, in chapter 48, verses 4 and 5, he shall be a staff for the righteous, for them to lean upon and not fall, and he shall be the light of the Gentiles, and he shall be the hope of those who are troubled in heart. All who dwell upon the earth shall fall down and worship before him. Light of the Gentiles. Compare this with Isaiah chapter 42, verse 6. I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. Isaiah chapter 49, verse 6. And he said, It is a small thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. John chapter 8, verse 12. Then Jesus spoke again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Jesus applying to himself a messianic title from Isaiah and Enoch, light of the nations. Resurrection and the eternal kingdom. Enoch describes the resurrection of the righteous and the establishment of the messianic kingdom. Enoch chapter 51, verses 1 and 2. And in those days shall the earth give back that which has been entrusted to it, and Sheol also shall give back that which it has received, and hell shall give back that which it owes. For in those days the elect one shall arise, and he shall choose the righteous and holy from among them, for the day has drawn near that they should be saved. Universal resurrection. Earth, Sheol, and destruction returning their dead, and the elect one selecting the righteous from among them. Daniel chapter 12, verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. John chapter 5, verses 28 and 29. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation, and the kingdom that follows is eternal. Enoch chapter 62, verse 14. And the Lord of spirits will abide over them, and with that Son of Man shall they eat and lie down and rise up forever and ever. Revelation chapter 21, verses 3 and 4. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Why these prophecies matter? When one understands that first century Jews read and knew the Book of Enoch, many elements of the Gospels become clearer. 1. Why Jesus chose Son of Man as his primary title. It was not merely a reference to Daniel. It was a claim to be the celestial, pre-existent, divinely powerful Messiah described in Enoch. 2. Why Jews reacted so strongly to certain statements of Jesus. When he said the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath, Mark 2:28, or before Abraham was I am, John 8:58, they recognized that he was claiming divinity based on texts such as Enoch. 3. Why Jesus spoke of sitting on a throne of glory judging the nations. The language comes directly from Enoch, and Jews understood exactly what he was asserting. 4. Why the apostles used certain titles and concepts. Chosen of God, Luke 23:35. Holy One and the Just, Acts 3:14. Light of the World, John 8:12. All echo Enochian language. The question of inspiration. Does this mean that Enoch is inspired? Not necessarily, but it does mean that 1. Enoch circulated widely and was held in esteem within Second Temple Judaism. 2. Jesus and the apostles were familiar with Enoch and employed its language and concepts. 3. Jude cites Enoch directly as genuine prophecy, which at least validates that specific section. 4. Enoch provides essential context for understanding first century messianic expectations and how Jesus fulfilled them. One does not need to accept Enoch as scripture to recognize its historical, theological, and hermeneutical value. Enoch's messianic prophecies are remarkably detailed and unexpectedly precise. The pre-existent, celestial, divine Son of Man, who judges the nations, establishes an eternal kingdom, and serves as a light to the Gentiles. All of this centuries before Jesus. And Jesus knew these prophecies. He intentionally used the language. He claimed the titles, and he fulfilled the expectations. The Book of Enoch does not prove that Jesus is the Messiah, but it offers context that makes Jesus' claim clearer, the reactions of the Jews more understandable, and the theology of the New Testament more deeply connected with ancient Judaism. Leave in the comments, do these messianic prophecies of Enoch change your understanding of Jesus? Do you now see why Son of Man was such a powerful title? And are you ready to explore why the church suppressed this book? Share this video. In the next video of this series, we will examine the controversial question, why was the Book of Enoch removed from the canon? Was it a legitimate theological decision or the suppression of an inconvenient truth? Subscribe, activate the bell, and do not miss it. Enoch prophesied about the Messiah, Jesus fulfilled it, and the connection is undeniable.